Have you ever wondered what it's like to work in a hospital as a chaplain when things go quiet, meaning overnight shift? Well, that's what this video is about. For those of you who are new here, my name is Leslie. I am sharing my journey to becoming a chaplain. So glad you're here. And this question actually came from someone who watched previous videos. And I love when you guys ask questions because it gives me content ideas. And so I'm like, I can definitely talk about what it's like to work overnight. I worked in the last year that I've been doing CPE. So for those of you who don't know, I'm in my second unit of CPE. And so I've done about 12 to 20 overnight shifts, somewhere up in there. Don't ask me how many. I didn't count before this video. But working overnight has its ups and its downs. Yeah. You know, there's definitely some good about working overnight. And then there's some crazy parts about working overnight. Because think about it. At a hospital at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, it's creepy, y'all. There's nobody walking the halls unless they're unhoused people or undomiciled people looking for shelter in like the chapel or little cubby and cutoffs in the hospital. But for the most part, it's pretty quiet. And so it's kind of creepy. Big old hospital, you walking around, elevators not moving, you going down some very quiet, long halls by yourself. Sounds like a horror movie waiting to happen. Yeah, right? But because the hospital is asleep. Even the staff, you know, they work overnight, so they're used to staying awake, like the nurses, the PCTs, the EVS people, because I hardly ever see doctors overnight. I ain't gonna lie to you, I don't know what it be. But it's usually nurses that I see overnight. They're working, but they're a little quiet too. So the hospital itself is just a sleepy place. When I think about what it's like in terms of energetic capacity, I am not a night owl, okay? So that means that Leslie likes to sleep, okay? And I'm fortunate because the hospital I work in, they have what they call an on-call room, so you can sleep. The kind of unspoken rule in the hospital that I'm in is kind of like, you stay up till about midnight, and after that, you can go up to the on-call room and go to sleep. Now, the on-call room is like being in jail. I ain't never been in jail, by God's grace. But I can tell you this, it's probably the closest that I feel like I've ever been in jail, because the bed is like a twin-size bed. It's hard. I'm like, I've watched enough episodes of Love After Lockup to get an idea of what a jail cell looks like. But it's better than just having to stay awake, because I've spoken to some chaplains where the expectation is that you stay awake. Okay, the nurses have to stay up. You're doing staff care overnight, even if there aren't patient calls. You're expected to make rounds. Now, here's the deal. As an intern, you're not there every night. Maybe it would be different if you were a staff chaplain in terms of starting to build relationships with staff. But that staff don't want to talk to you. Like, seriously, it's like everybody has kind of powered down overnight. But it might be different if you're a staff chaplain. But for the most part, people are just trying to keep their head low and get through the night. A couple of incidents I had happen while working overnight. I told you guys about the unhoused people that will come through the hospital. And most of the time, it's not a big deal. You know, people are just looking for shelter. They're looking to get rest. But every now and then you'll have unhoused people who have some mental challenges as well. And I did run into a couple of patients that way. And that was a little scary. If y'all want to hear stories, let me know about that in the chat. It was a little scary because you don't have all the support that you would have during the day to kind of manage those situations. But by God's grace, I did. The second one was when I was called to a patient's room who was bipolar 1. And she had been manic most of the day. She had been restrained most of the day. All things I didn't know, by the way, before I went to visit her. And I almost got beat up. Y'all want to hear that story? Let me know. But those are the extreme cases. The good part about being overnight, I think, is that people get real introspective overnight. Like at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, you just start thinking about your life when you're laying in a hospital bed. Like, have I made good choices? what would life be like without me? Who matters to me? What matters to me? So a lot of life review and values-based conversations. Follow your heart when you can't get comfortable because you're not at home. And so I've had some of the best conversations, some of the deepest conversations at night. And so that's the blessing of it, is that people are unfiltered. They're raw, they're honest, because it's just a little different when things get quiet. So I would say a couple of things, a couple of pieces of advice if you are required to work overnight in CPE. First of all, ask the question if you're allowed to go to sleep. Just flat out ask it. Do they have an on-call room? If they do, they don't, whatever, it doesn't really matter. You just want to know when you go into it. Second of all, you want to make sure that you create some space that evening for you just to be reflective, however that is, whether that's reading your Bible, whether that's meditation, whether that's prayer, whether that's listening to relaxing music, whatever it is that keeps you grounded and centered, you want to make sure that you engage in those practices, because the situations that you're going to run into at night is going to require a different level of presence, is what I would say. And yeah, I just think that those are the big things. Those are the big things. Pack your toothbrush, toiletries, all of that fun stuff. Always keep some gum and some candy, especially if you fall asleep and you got morning breath when you wake up. But seriously, I think the big things is just to remember that the Lord is working in that quiet, not just with the patients, but also with you. All right, my loves, until the next video, if you have any questions, drop them in the chat. I read and respond to all of them. I just am finished up seminary, so woohoo, bless God for that. And so I'm going to have more time to record videos and engage and offer more content. So if there's something you want to know about becoming a chaplain, let me know. Oh, and I didn't share. So in addition to doing my CPE, I do have a position as a hospice chaplain. So I have my first chaplaincy job where I'm getting a check, as opposed to CPE, which is the job that you pay for. So I'll be sharing more about my day job as well. So, all right, friends, until next time, grace and peace.